Welcome back to Amazin But True. It's our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. I'm your host, Jake Brown. Follow me on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio and follow the podcast at Amazin But True. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts and watch us on the New York Post Sports YouTube page. If you're watching there, give us a thumbs up below, comment below. How do you feel about this team? It's tank mode for the New York Mets. So in honor of tank mode, in a couple of minutes, we'll be joined by Barstool Sports, Frank the Tank. You know, some people love Frank, some people hate him. I feel like there's no in between. There's the people that don't like his negativity, and then there's the people saying Frank was right. And it's hard to deny that Frank was right. That is the saying. Frank was right. And Frank has been right about the state of this team. And now this looks like a AAA or 4A bunch. 6 straight losses since the trade deadline. 1 to the abysmal Royals as they got them going. And there's all sorts of records from either guys facing the Mets, players, teams. All are breaking like all-time records this week against the Mets, where the Royals, the first team with like under 35 wins to go on that long of a win streak this late in the season. James McCann over the weekend setting records for his 3-for-3, 5 RBI game with a stolen base. That is called revenge, and it was so sweet for the former Met who had 18 RBIs all of last year. He had 10 going into the game on Friday this year, and he had 5 in one night against this lousy New York Mets team that is now 40-51. 11 games under 500 with 51 to go. And everyone else in the wild card has been so bad that the Mets only lost since Tuesday, a game and a half in the standings. They are only 7.5 out. You know, I didn't check really this morning because I figured, they're probably 8, 9 out. The sad thing about the punt, the sad thing about the tank is that all these other teams are losing. And if you were to put a competitive team together, maybe this doesn't happen. But it looks like this team is checked out. Buck Showalter called out non-competitive at-bats. And now we're looking at it on August 7th with 51 to go. The Mets are just a game and a half up on the last place Nationals. They are on the edge of not glory, not the edge of 17, the edge of 5th place. And that is embarrassing. And listen, the future is bright. Clifford homers in his first game in Brooklyn. You get Acuna's hitting, flashing the leather. All the young guys are doing great. To the point that on SNY and all the clips, we're seeing a lot more minor league highlights than we're seeing major league highlights. You're hearing a lot more of the minor league broadcast crew than you're hearing Gary, Keith, and Ron or Steve Gelbs fill in. We're hearing a lot of these guys that we might not see for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and beyond. And the future does look bright with those prospects. But right now, this is an impossible team to watch. And for 2 months, what the front office and ownership has given this fan base is the laughing stock of Major League Baseball. I mean, Sunday's lineup. I mean, are you kidding me? After McNeil, Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo gets another day off. And Nimmo, I know, has a quad injury, and I think the state of the team, the status of the team, is having them take it very easy with him and Starling Marte after Marte also came back on Friday. After 1 through 3, let me go through the lineup. DJ Stewart hitting cleanup, 212 this season, 213 on his career. Omar Narvaez hitting 5th, 193 this season. Mark Vientos hitting 6th, 214 this season. Brett Beatty hitting 7th, 216 this season. He's 049 in his last 7 games. Danny freaking Mendick hitting 8, 172 in the season, 245 his career. Rafael Ortega hitting 9th, 133 this season, 249 in his career. This is what we are left with. We are left with a team with a lot of guys you might not know. And we're going to have to wait at least 2 more weeks for Ronnie Mauricio, although they could just wait till September for the call-up. But this is a product with a 10-game homestand ahead against the Cubs, who are now the 3rd wildcard team at just 4 games over 500. 4 against the Braves, 3 against the Pirates. where it's hard to even give away Met tickets right now to watch these bumps. This team is just awful. It's the first 6 or more game winless road trips since 2017. Bucks calling at bats. Luke Voigt is now gone as he opted out of his Mets deal. Would have loved to see him over Vogelback, who somehow is still on this roster. I mean, it is mind-blowing that he's here. 14 homers in 37 games for Luke Voigt. And you can't blame him. He opted out. He's going to maybe go to the Yankees or somewhere else, but would have liked to at least see some Voigt at bats. Maybe he's provided some pop. But right now, it's about developing the kids, and they're not developed. Vientos has looked bad. Beatty's looked bad. Alvarez is really the one that's looked great, but man, you're starting to worry about Brett Beatty, both in the field and at the plate. Looks absolutely lost out there. So the state of the Mets is not good as a 10-game homestand ahead, 11 games under. Let's see if they can win a game. Right now, this looks like June. 0-6 in August. The Mets are in tank mode, and we're in tank mode on Amazin But True. And Frank the Tank joins us next. All right, you heard from me in the open. As I said, it is a tank edition of the show. As you have the 3A and 4A Mets taking over the lineup here in August. So now we are joined by Frank the Tank at NJTank99 on Twitter, Barstool Sports, Frank the Tank podcast, and find Frank on Cameo. It is fantasy football season, so Frank could get the order, your draft order, and look ahead to football. As his Miami Dolphins are bound to finish below my New York Jets, but we'll save that for another day. Frank, I said good morning to you, and you said there's nothing good about it, but I will say good morning.
Yeah, well, there's nothing good about it.
This team, the state of the team, the 6-game losing streak, we're seeing guys other than Mauricio and everyone else and their mother, and not even Luke Voigt getting a chance, but the likes of Ortega.
I don't understand what the Mets are doing this year. I do not understand any single thing they are doing.
Yeah, I think Mauricio, the wait is the whole contract situation. August 19th is the date that they get another year of control if they wait till then. But what do you think of this lineup, this team? And you said it yesterday, unwatchable.
Rafael Ortega is atrocious. What are we doing? How are we supposed to? I don't trust this team. I don't trust the prospects they got. I don't trust their minor league development. To me, everything that Steve Cohen has been exposed. This is worse than it's ever been when Will Cohen was involved.
If the Mets do move on, and we think they might, from Billy Eppler and Stearns takes over, new GM, is there any more confidence in you if Epler's out of this system for the future?
I don't know. Who's gonna be running the minor league system? Who are they gonna? Why do Met prospects come up unready to play? Why is Brett Beatty look like he's about to just like implode? Why is Brett Beatty not only not hitting, but it's a train wreck in the field? Why is any time Mark Vandals puts on a baseball glove, he's like Michael Jackson. He has a glove for no apparent reason. He is a DH. He will never find a position. His footwork sucks at first base. He can't throw. He can't pick up a ground ball. I mean, here's the bottom line. Last year they should have went for it. Mm-hmm. The only prospect who should have been untouchable was Francisco Alvarez. Mm-hmm. Instead of landing Darren Ruff, Daniel Vogelback, Tyler Nyquil, and Michael Gibbons up the lead, they should have put a little bit more oomph and gotten some better pieces at the trade deadline last year. I mean, it's been then this offseason was okay. So you signed Dave Robertson, so you signed Justin Verlander, and Senga was a good addition. Chris Bassett ate a lot of innings last year. Now, I understand letting go Taiwan Walker. But, I mean, David Peterson, he was always a pitcher that was kind of iffy. Now he's total trash can. Tyler McGill started no-hitter last year. Was a starter on opening day. Was good for the first month of the season. Now, a lot of this has to go on Jeremy Hefner. I mean, how did all of our pitching regress? And I started noticing something. And it was this. In spring training, this team did not look like it was ready to go. The World Baseball Classic was a huge distraction. We had Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil both rotting on the bench throughout the spring training. And the thing that struck me in the spring training just like hit me like a ton of bricks watching it. And I hate the World Baseball Classic. I hate the World Baseball Classic. Hate it. They had a World Baseball Classic in 2009. The Mets crashed. They had a World Baseball Classic in 2013. Well, the Mets were already down in flames, so they didn't even have to crash. 2017, World Baseball Classic, the Mets crashed. And what happened this year with the World Baseball Classic?
Mets crashed. Yeah, it's a common theme, and Buck even keeps mentioning it. I mean, at some point, Buck said, at least we got a fun WBC, and he's even frustrated with it. So you're not wrong there. And it seemed like a lot of guys cared a lot more about winning the WBC than they cared about winning for the Mets.
No, you mean one guy. Well, one guy specifically. The guy with the Gucci gloves.
Lindor, yeah.
And how about this? Did you know that during the World Baseball Classic, they played with last year's rules? No pitch clock, no pitch timer. How do you run a World Baseball Classic, a tournament like this, in a year in which you're making radical changes? Maybe not so much, not that radical, but shouldn't these rule adjustments, the players have an entire month to adjust to them? And how many times early in the season pitch clock violation do the Mets have? How many times? It looked like every other day the Mets were having like 1 or 2 pitch clock violations. And Max Scherzer, there's a man. There's a man who is a total prick. If one thing goes wrong, he unravels. He's always angry. He's a terrible teammate. We knew he had his eccentricities coming in. But the pitch clock thing, he always seemed angry about that. And then you had the sticky stuff violation. He got caught. They gave him an opportunity to wash it off. And he went back out there and he did it again. Look at the trajectory of the Mets. They had that good West Coast trip in April. And this included winning that game that Scherzer had the sticky stuff. They won the next 2 games. And then they threw David Peterson. Then they had to adjust the rotation. Max Scherzer getting that 10-game suspension was the moment the season began to fall apart. And then he's out there complaining about them trading Dave Robertson, making a stink, making noise. He forced a fire sale by coming out and telling everyone what Billy Eppler said. He f***ed this up. He f***ed up that goddamn locker room. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. No, he did. And listen, that was interesting that he did leak that convo, and then Eppler was forced to basically say to the media, I did say that. Did you like that trade? I mean, you sound like you didn't like Scherzer. They get the other Acuna back. Was that one of these fire sale moves that you didn't hate at all?
I don't hate that one.
Mm-hmm.
I hate getting rid of Verlander.
Yep,
I think
me
he
too.
could. I think he could have been a big part next year.
Yep.
He was finally starting to pitch well after the injury to start the season. There's nothing. The Verlander was out for the first 6 weeks.
Mhm.
It just was everything went against him. And then you got Lindor with the Lindor and McNeil with that car. I seriously wonder if that plays a bigger role than what anyone might be thinking.
Yeah, this locker room was not as tight knit as last year. That was very clear. Behind the scenes, something is going on. I've been saying that on this show that it just doesn't seem right. That's a part of it. It's just a group of guys that don't like each other. And then you got new guys coming in every day where it's like, who the hell is this guy? Now it's at the point where it's like, who's Ortega? Who's Mendes? Who are
And
these guys?
and there are moves they could have made, small moves. I know the Correa thing fell apart, and boy, that thing just dragged on forever. That didn't help.
Mhm.
That didn't help. But you're telling me that they made a conscious decision to go into spring training, okay, with a DH uh, platoon of Daniel Vogelback and Darren Ruff. There were players out there. I mean, the Cubs took a flyer on Cody Bellinger. Why don't the Mets ever do that? Why don't the Mets ever do that?
It would have been good. Yeah.
You know, a player that struggled gets out there and give him a 1 year contract. The Mets never do that. Well, look how good he's been with the Cubs. He's not quite his MVP form, but he's a lot better than the Mets have. Starling Marte had that double hernia surgery, or whatever, the double surgery. He wasn't right from day one.
Mhm.
He slid into third base and strained his neck early in the season against the Marlins, that first homestand. He went 6 weeks without getting an extra base hit after that. At some point early in the season, he should have been shut down. Now he's playing with the migraines. He's just gotten back, and he's still not looked right. He don't look right. Shut him down.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a great player all his career. Maybe the surgery off season, maybe it's still the neck. He's a man of migraines. Shut him down. Don't let him play another game this year. You signed 2 years. You couldn't trade this guy because right now the guy looks like the engine's smoking and he's off on the side of the road there. But shut him down. Maybe, just maybe, next year he bounces back.
He's got 2 more years on a contract. You might as well. And it seems like the Mets are just dragging and waiting until this date on Mauricio because you figure Mauricio is going to play some left field, maybe some right, and get the outfield. But I mean, the point of playing Marte, you're risking further damage. I agree, is not look like the same player. I know he's stolen some bases, but just his approach at the plate has just been terrible. He's swinging a lot of first pitches. He
And,
looks like he
and,
doesn't want to be there a lot of times when he comes to the plate.
yeah, that's what I said. He looks like he doesn't care. I
Mm-hmm.
use a different word on my end, but but yeah, it's his body language. And Jeff McNeil, he hit 328 last year. When I was at the game last time a couple weeks ago, now 328 won the batting title last year. His batting average was around 245. His on base percentage was around 320, and his slugging percentage was 315. How is it possible for those three numbers to be worse than his batting average last year? Well, the batting average, I understand, but yeah, how is it possible for his on base and slugging each to be worse than his batting average last year?
I thought the new rules, the ban of the shift would end up helping McNeil. It seems like it's maybe hurt. Maybe Barnes over Chavez at hitting coach, the analytical approach. The Mets put a lot of money in analytics, the human element. has been a thing of the past, and in some ways it looks like it's hurt. It just looks like a team doesn't know how to win.
Yeah,
And
It's like when they had who was I keep forgetting that guy's name. The hitting coach 2 years ago.
Hugh Quattlebaum. How could we
Yeah,
forget Hugh
that's who I'm talking about.
Quattlebaum?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's reached those levels. The offense was
I mean,
terrible under him.
now why I don't say Barnes was there last year. He was the assistant hitting coach last year. How did it change this drastically? And Eric Chavez is still there. He's the assistant manager or bench coach. Why is that? Why has it changed that badly?
$64,000 question. You mentioned Buck. Is he here next year? He's got 1 year left. What do you think? You think they fire him?
No, he's got to go.
You think he's gone? All right.
He's got to go.
Any replacements you have in mind?
Depends what your situation is.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to go with the young players and go with a lot of Latin players, I think you roll the dice with Carlos Beltran.
I wouldn't be against that. Beltran already in the organization.
Or you look at somebody, a team that actually knows how to do analytics. Because every time the Mets try to do analytics, it's a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
I personally hate what analytics have done to baseball. Hate it. You can't be a slave to analytics. You can't be. And the teams that handle analytics poorly end up becoming slaves to analytics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm not a big analytic guy. I think there's some good things about it, but putting everything into the analytics table, it's hurt the Mets. And I think it's a different approach that they tried and it's failed. And I hope next year they cut back on it. But unfortunately, there's more and more every year. There's new numbers, new stats, new, brainiac numbers that I've never even heard of that come out every year.
I mean, how did the Rays do it so well and the Mets do it so bad?
Yeah.
Who are the Mets hiring? Why aren't we hiring people from Tampa?
Fortunately, they're hiring people from the Angels who never develop anyone, and that's the problem with Billy Eppler. He's bringing a lot of his own guys.
Yeah, and this is why Billy Eppler needs to be fired.
Mm-hmm.
The Angels are a disaster.
Yeah, they're sinking.
And they know they got Shohei. They know Mike Trout's supposed to be coming back soon. They ain't making the playoffs.
Yeah, they're sinking ship right now, and they have no pitching.
Unless they find a way to convince Shohei to stay, that team is going to be a smoldering wreck.
Mm-hmm.
Their farm system is so bad, especially the trade. I mean, they took Dominic Leone for I forgot the guy's name, but there's so many players the Mets got.
Jeremiah Jackson, I believe his name.
Yeah, Jeremiah Jackson is probably one of the better players the Mets got at the deadline.
That was arguably the best trade just because it was for Leone.
Well, it's Dominic Leone! Dominic Leone!
Yeah.
I'm surprised they got a live body for Dominic Leone.
Yeah. He left a note at the front door, in the words of Billy Joel. And what was left was Jeremiah Jackson. He plays a little infield. I think he was playing in AA. So play some infield, play some outfield. They're going to need a mix and match because of all the shortstops.
Dominic Leone, I mean, I wanted him DFA'd, not traded. I mean,
yeah, I don't know how they pulled that.
Got a live body.
That was a favor from the Angels. I think that was a favor to Billy Eppler right there for all he did.
The Angels, and then they got Lucas Giolito, a player who I think the Mets should definitely pursue this offseason.
Yeah, that's the next step here, Frank. Again, Frank the Tank joining me on Amazin But True, Jake Brown Radio, and J Tank 99. You got to go out and get at least 3 or 4 starters in free agency, unless you're trading a few of these prospects. I'm not confident they're going to get high-end starters. I think they're going to get a lot of guys on 1-year deals. number threes,
I
number
don't like
fours,
that.
similar to
Don't like
Quintana.
that. Don't like
What
that.
what do you see their approach being here when it comes to starting pitch? Because that's clearly their biggest weakness right now.
Well, first off, you got to make that attempt to get Shohei.
Mhm.
Second, you also got to try to get Yoshi.
Mhm.
Senga, there's been an adjustment, but it looks like I think Senga could be a good piece next year.
Yep.
And then you go after some of these pitchers, free agents. Don't trade anybody unless there's like a pitcher that's like really becomes available, and it's someone that's gonna like really change things. You don't trade anybody. Yeah. So and there's a lot of people out there. Giolito, Nola. They're gonna hit the open market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryu, Wainwright,
And Jeremy
Eduardo
Hefner.
Rodriguez is interesting. Urias is an interesting one that everyone's talking about. He's going to get a lot more money than he got this year. Rodriguez, if he opts out, is an interesting name. A lefty. Have pair him with Quintana, a couple lefties in the rotation. Kyle Hendricks is another guy. He's got a club option. And then you get your fringe guys, the Woods, the Haneys, the Greinke's.
There's gonna be about 10 pitchers available this offseason
Mm-hmm.
that the Mets should definitely consider getting.
Snell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's the problem.
you gotta get somebody.
Yeah, there's not many number ones. That's going to be the issue here. Is the Mets are going to get a lot of threes and
They don't need
fours.
number one. Let's build a bunch of number twos, number
Yeah,
threes.
that seems to be the approach.
I think besides what number one is overrated these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ask yourself this: do the Braves really have a number one, or do they have a bunch of number twos?
Braves, same with the Orioles. Orioles don't have a true number one, and they're one of the best teams in baseball right now. So that approach seems to be working, and it seems like something that Eppler and whoever's running the ship is going to try. And it all comes back to: do we trust
And if you
Eppler?
wanted
Will
a
he
number
sign
one, then
him?
you keep Verlander.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Diaz hurt last year. Getting hurt was bad. They got to just get better arms out of bullpen. I mean, how many trades did they make get from the Marlins? Get these like Jeff Brigham and John Curtis. Who's this guy? Jimmy Yacobonis.
On him on the scrap heap. Yep.
You're
Yeah,
telling me
the middle relief needs help, Frank, and it needs guys, and he needs Drew Smith shot into the sun. I mean, Drew Smith cannot be a part of this bullpen next year. Unfortunately, I feel like he might be their sixth or seventh inning guy, but he needs to not be anywhere near this bullpen. And you got to build around. Ottavino seems glad to come back, so I'm fine with him coming back. Rarely it seems like he'll come back on that option, and then Diaz will be back. So those are your back three, but the middle relief has got to get fixed. Like you're right, bring him through more innings than he did in his career this year, and he gets shut down. And then you had all these guys you weren't ready. You had a bunch of guys you thought would be major league ready who were not, and now you got the
and I
likes
think
of
a lot of
Josh
that goes
Walker
on. I
coming
think a
up.
lot of that goes on. Pitching coach Jeremy Hefner. I think back to 1999 when the Mets were really scuffling. June, they had an 8-game losing streak. They'd actually fallen below 500, one game below 500. Now the Mets had a bad May, a bad May. They had a 6-week stretch after the Scherzer sticky stuff incident, and they went into June. They got swept by the Blue Jays at home, and then you had that disastrous series in Atlanta where the season died. That's the moment the season blew up. They went into that series at 500. They lost all 3 games blowing leads with good old boy Max Scherzer right in the thick of it. And the bullpen was a disaster in that game. They had leads in the 7th inning, 6th or 7th inning each time, 3-run leads. Bob Showalter, at the end of that series, said he was proud of the team.
I mean,
That was the moment.
the tide turned on Buck pretty quick. Like, it's incredible what the difference in losing versus winning makes. And
And so I think back to 1999.
yeah.
You remember that? You remember what happened?
Mm-hmm.
They lost the first 2 games at Yankee Stadium. They had a lethargic, dead, horrible Saturday night, Saturday afternoon game. After that game, they fired 3 coaches: bullpen coach, pitching coach, hitting coach. Basically, it was like, and you got the sense that Bobby Johnson came out there on a razor's edge. They went on a run the next 3 weeks and played some of their best baseball in years. You had that. You had the mustache game involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
The Mets not only turned it around, they battled the Braves the rest of the season. They won high 90s games. They just brought in 3 new faces, 3 new voices. The bullpen and pitching was struggling at that point. Fire a coach. Get a new voice in there. See what's going on. See if that could change a little things. That was the moment that could have saved the season. As it went, June got worse and worse every day. And when June 8 was over, they were 10 games under 500.
Mm-hmm.
And Stevie Cohen was at a press conference where he literally said nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
He said nothing at that press conference. But he said that basically he said that if the players don't turn around, we're going to trade everyone, which ended up becoming true. But it seemed to do more harm than good.
Yeah, worried about a fire sale. He said it wasn't a fire sale, it became a fire sale. And now, the final step of the fire sale would be if they ended up trading Pete Alonso. Frank, I'm on keep Pete. Are you any interest in trading him if they get a good package back this offseason?
I don't trust their packages. I don't trust their player development. No.
Mm-hmm.
No. Where else are you gonna get 40 home runs a year? Where else are you gonna get 40 home runs a year? Where else are you gonna get a guy that can become the face of the franchise, set every offensive record? Pete Alonso needs to be the next David Wright. If you trade Pete Alonso, you're the 70s. We're going to be watching Bruce Bosclair. We're going to be watching Richie Hebner, Frank Tavares. Who are the Doug Flynn? Those players. John Pacella.
One my time.
You know what John Pacella was known for?
What?
His hat would fall off when he was pitching.
Yeah, I can't recall the 70s days, but I know some of those guys you mentioned, obviously Doug Flynn. So we can't have that happen. Next year cannot be a punt year. This was a tank episode. Next year cannot be a tank. The Mets have to get it right in free agency because they have a core in place. At least you have Sengen. Quintana's look great, so he'll be on board next year.
If they could get something for Jeff McNeil, I'd do it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like he'll come around next year. That's baseball sometimes with these guys. It's one great year, one bad year, one good year. But I guess you got to listen to offers, especially. And that's why I wanted to see more Mauricio, because Mauricio, while he's not great defensively, he could play infield, outfield, DH. You can mix him around. Now we're only going to see maybe a month of him. I don't know if a month is enough time to slot him into the starting lineup next year. So that's the frustrating part.
Why are we worried about? I guess the 19th is not that far away, but Mauricio should have been called up in July.
Yeah, early July. Yep.
And Mark Vientos, trash.
He might
I
have been a
mean,
good trade chip. He's looked
if the
terrible.
Mets do get rid of Pete Alonso, a generation now when they talk about tanking Mets, we'll be using the name Mark Vientos.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say another player that needs to be shut down, or at least a mental break. Brett Beatty.
He looks lost out there, both field and at the plate. It's ugly with Beatty right now. Oh, what is it?
Maybe
049.
maybe send him back down to Syracuse for a week, 2 weeks.
049 his last 7 games, 125 his last 10, 161 in his last 30. I mean,
and the fielding.
Yeah, and just dropped balls, throwing balls away. I don't know what to do with him because I feel like that could stun his development more by sending him down. But and they also don't have really any other option. I mean, you're already starting Danny Mendick some days. Like,
God, he is. There's a guy. There's a guy. That's another guy that you'll be talking about for generations how bad they are. But you just know. And Rafael Ortega.
I didn't even know he was in the organization.
Why wasn't Luke Voigt called up?
Yeah, 14 homers in 37 games. He was hitting a homer almost every other day, and now he's gone. And Vogelback is still here. I just do not get it.
Does Daniel Vogelback have pictures or something of compromising pictures of people?
He must. I don't know why he's still here. And in the games that don't matter, why is Vogelback still a part of this team? It just is bizarre to me.
Well, early in the year, he was just standing and watching every pitch go by.
Yeah.
Now we're watching him swing. His swing literally looks like a like a pinball flipper. You know, I'm right-handed, and they say that the left-handers have the most majestic, beautiful swing. His swing looks like a pinball flipper.
It's a good nickname, the pinball flipper. We'll close on this, Frank. What's a positive Mets moment that we can recall? Let's because this is a lot of negativity the last 2 months. Besides 86, after that, what team did you just love watching before your videos, before you were on Twitter? What was that team? Was it 2000 or 2006? What was your favorite Met team?
2006. I think that was the most unlucky moment the Mets had. Flip Floyd was hurt in the postseason. Had a good series against Dodgers, but then those aches and pains that just like robbed his career took over. I think if Pedro doesn't blow out his arm, they win 100 games and are unstoppable in the postseason. El Duque, who was a good addition, hurting his hamstring on the warning track, jogging for the NLCS. Then you got the Duanar Sanchez injured in a taxi cab, so you make that trade to get Oliver Perez and give up Xavier Nady, and then you bring in Sean Green. Sean Green was by then really bad, and Xavier Nady, you just had on a career year, kind of having a heater, and you lose Game 7 the way you did. After the Andy Chavez catch, they needed to score that next inning. They had bases loaded, if I can remember, and I think who was it? Valentin.
Mm-hmm.
Valentin choked. You take the lead there, you win the game. There is no Yadier Molina.
Yeah, that was the year.
That team should have won the World Series.
I agree. Even in the positive, there's pain. A 15-year-old Jake, that would have made my childhood complete, a Mets World Championship. But now we wait more than the 3 to 5 year window that Stevie said to us, and assuming they don't win next year, it might be closer to the 6 to 8 window if we're lucky at this point and these prospects do pan out.
I don't trust the Mets with prospects. I don't. Unless something drastically changes in the organization, I don't trust their prospects. The prospects.
Well, those are the highlights you'll be watching. That's what SNY is tweeting. It's all prospects and no Ortegas. Frank the Tank, follow him on Twitter at NJTank99. Get him on Cameo, the Frank the Tank podcast, Barstool Sports. Frank, good catch up with you, and try not to just take some nights off. Don't watch every game. Relax and avoid the inevitable losses. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right, see you around.
All right, thanks to Frank the Tank for coming on. A lot of long pauses in there. If you watched on video, some room for dramatics in there. So thanks to Frank for joining the Tank episode 169 of Amazin But True, our New York Mets podcast from the New York Post. Thanks to Andrew Hartz and Nick Guzman for helping me in producing the show. Nick Guzman, final week. Man, these internships go quick. I mean, it's already over. Nick, have you enjoyed the ride as Amazin But True / New York Post Sports podcast intern?
It's been my first internship and also my best one, so I don't know what that says, but I really enjoyed my time working with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get better than talking about this crappy Mets team. I've been, it's been more relaxing not seeing all the games, going to summer club, having some fun, enjoying life and just knowing that they're going to lose. So listen, until Mauricio's here, you're going to see a lot of this same trash product, bad at bats, lazy at bats, a team checked out. Would love to see what the kid provides, because you got to figure out, is Mauricio going to be a regular player on next year's Mets? And I get the service time, I get waiting for it, but geez, get him up here that when he's ready, the 20th for the service time, whatever, at the latest September 1st. But you got to get a good 6 weeks or a month out of him. See what you got. Subscribe to Amazin But True on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Find that Amazin But True playlist. Watch us there. Follow me on Twitter at Jake Brown Radio. Follow the show at Amazin But True. Congrats to my brother, Robert, and his wife, Emily, on their first child, Oliver Ray Brown. The kid sounds like a star. 7 pounds, 10 ounces. So I'm going to have to grow up now because I'm now an uncle. So, I have a child in the wings, as close to a child as I'll have. I'll say in the 3 to 5 year window, 6 to 8 year window that Steve Cohen said, that'll probably be my child window. Will be 6 to 8. So Funkle Jake is here. I unfortunately am not going to be able to raise him a Mets fan because my brother is going to raise him a Yankee fan. So the crazy part about it is, and I don't celebrate half birthdays and really ever pay attention to it, but his birthday will fall on my half birthday. He is Mr. 805 August 5th, and I'm Mr. 205 February 5th. So it'll be cool to be halfway through mine and celebrate it with my nephew, although he is in North Carolina, so I will not get to see him often, but looking forward, hopefully in the next few weeks, to fly down there and see my little nephew. I'm glad he is in good hands. So congrats to them. So that was an eventful weekend in the family, and we're looking forward to that. Now, we will be back likely on Thursday morning after this Mets Cubs series. We're hoping to pre-record some interviews, get those out. Ed Kranepool should be on it at some point, and then we'll get some others. And Figgy will be back next Monday for an episode. So thanks everybody for sticking with us and tuning in. It's a long weekend. It sounds like I'm tired. Well, I am. So we will close it out. Do I even say let's go Mets? Let's just close it with what we said last week. 3, 2, 1. SOS.